Okay, so just piggybacking on what Greg said, does anyone calling in, currently there's about six of you who are calling in. Do any of you want to hop on your computer or laptop really quick to join us on YouTube? Again, just to see the web images that we're pulling up. And if so, we'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. But if not, we'll just go ahead and get started. Does anyone want to hop on over to the laptop or computer?
I have a question. If we go onto I'm looking at your live stream now, and if I go on that, can I turn off the phone? Can I communicate through my computer?
No, you will have to continue communicating over the phone. But you can.
Okay, so I have to figure out how to turn my volume off here.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so let's officially get started and call to order the meeting at 5:35 p.m. Thank you once again to everyone who is available to join us. George and Susie, I see you're joining us via Teams. That's great. So as we kick off the meeting, I'm going to do a roll call of EDAC members, beginning with Council Member Denise Allen, J.R. Algoer, Council Member Greg Bowe, Dr. Chuck Christie, Mr. Robert Coleman, Council Member Bobby Duncan, Mr. Bruce Granlund, Miss Lonnie Granlund.
Yes, here.
Craig Heaps, George Macias.
Here.
Mike Marion.
Here.
Chris Markarian.
Chris Markarian is here.
Thank you. Dr. Moya, Dr. Mervyn Moya. David Palmer. Tom Potter.
Here.
Michelle Riggs. Suzanne Southern.
Susie Southern.
Jim Taylor. And that's it. So we have a total of 7 members present this afternoon. I don't believe we got any public comments at this time, so we'll move right ahead to our next item, which is a formal appointment of chair and vice chair. Do we
have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Sorry, yes, we have a quorum.
Okay, go ahead.
So with 7 members present, we do have a quorum. Would any of the members present like to nominate someone for the chair and vice chair roles? And what these individuals would be doing would be essentially they would be leading these meetings. Staff, myself, I would provide the agenda to them, and that's basically what they would do. Also act as a note taker in addition to myself to make sure we capture these meetings. And of course, if the chair is not there, then the vice chair would step in to be the lead. So do we have any nominations? And if not, certainly we could push this item to a future meeting when more are able to attend. So anyone want to nominate a chair and vice chair? I'm also more than happy to continue being the chair if no one at this time wants to do that.
Do you have any volunteers? Do you have any volunteers, Carolyn?
Do we have any volunteers right now? Okay. Well, if
so
anything.
Carolyn,
Yes.
I have been, this is Lonnie Granlund. I've been the chairman. I know you say we don't have one, but I've been the chairman since Dick Sigmund passed away. But I would like to hand it off to somebody else if they would like to take it. But since we only have 7 members here, maybe we have members, if now we talk about it with the other members, we might find one that wants to do it. Because yes. I would prefer to step down.
Okay. Okay.
When is the next scheduled meeting? I'd suggest you put it over to the next meeting, see if you can get better participation.
Okay, that's the next scheduled meeting is July 2nd. So hopefully we have more folks attend then, and we can.
So we normally change that one when it's right next to the 4th to the week before or the week after.
Okay.
Because we don't have good attendance on that.
Okay. So then we're probably looking at the week after. Might make sense. The 4th is a Saturday. So the next meeting will have it be July 9th.
That's if everybody else is agreeable. I mean, I'm just asking July 9th as opposed to the 2nd, what everybody thinks.
I think in a past meeting we had already agreed on that because it's on my calendar for July 9th.
I think we have too. I think we already talked about it.
Okay. Okay. And I apologize if this is business that the committee has already discussed. This is my second meeting. I'm new to the city, so getting to know everyone and how these meetings.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you. So July 9th then is what we all agreed upon for the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So the next item of business is a development update, which is handed out at every meeting. You were provided the list from our planning department earlier this week. Is there any project that you had questions on? I may not be able to answer them directly right now because I am not in planning per se, but I can find out and follow up for you if there are any questions or comments on any of the projects.
I just see a lot of restaurants coming to town. Are any of these actually moving forward? Or are they all just in planning or just have applied and been accepted and that's where they're at and not moving forward yet?
Yeah, I believe so. One restaurant that I've been working closely with the owner on is Klutz. I believe it's on here. If not, it's a restaurant in Uptown. I think it is. But it's the same story that we're hearing all over, that due to this recent pandemic, plans have kind of been at a halt. But I think in the last week or two, that activity is picking up. So, for example, the owner of this restaurant picked up his plans last week. So hopefully we're going to see more movement. But to answer your question, yes, I do believe most of them are still in the planning stage.
I think Chick-fil-A was the one that people were interested in.
Yeah, I don't know where they're. I'll have to check on the status of where Chick-fil-A is at. So I'll have an update for the group at the next meeting. One of the projects that didn't make it on time, but it should have been on the list is the applicant is Copeland Family Partnership, and it's actually their CUP was approved to do an 18-unit condominium complex, and that's on 3rd Street on the west side between Kelly Lane and Mission Way. So if you're viewing the YouTube live stream, we'll pull up a Google Map location in a second. But this is for a multi-family condominium complex. The address is 12808 3rd Street, and this is across the street from the school district offices, a little to the south. So if you have access to the live stream, there's a Google aerial map of this location and the vacant lot as it sits right now. So the CUP for that project was approved at the last Planning Commission meeting.
It could be senior housing or?
No, I believe it's going to be family. Yes, family housing.
This is Mike Marion. I have a question.
Yes, Mike.
The question I had was, I read this and I didn't attend the meeting on the tentative tract map for the 47.7 acres of 143 single family units.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not familiar with the flood control improvements or anything like that, and I don't need to. But living just north east of that, we already have a traffic issue there. Do we have improvements going into Oakland Road for that?
Yes. Are you talking about the Oakland Road proposed multifamily unit, Oakland and Avenue E development?
No, Oakland and 2nd.
Oakland and 2nd, okay.
You had two schools right over there. It's already a mess in the morning, and it already takes about 15 minutes to get to the 10 freeway.
Okay.
My concern was the
Traffic.
Yeah, it's under 43 single family on residential lots, 7,200, which we need. Don't get me wrong, we need, but we also need to make sure that we have some traffic.
As part of the development, I'm sure you know, is our engineering team there are conditions of approval that must be met by the developer, which often include installation of infrastructure and utilities. But for this particular one, I'll follow up with our engineering team to see what they're requiring, because a part of that is the traffic study to mitigate, impacts. So I'll follow up on that for you, Mike.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, nothing is appearing for me on the economic advisory screen. I'm looking at what on my computer, but it's just a little thing, public meeting to be held via conference. Nothing came up. I don't know for anybody else if it's coming up.
Are you on the YouTube screen, Lonnie?
Yes, I am. Are you?
You have to press.
I'm on the
Yeah,
YouTube
you have.
screen, and I have the overhead view of Copeland's project.
Yeah, you have to press play.
Oh, okay, I pressed play. Nothing's happening. All right, well, I'll skip it.
Lonnie, it could be a delay too, because it's set up. It's hard,
well,
I guess.
If everybody else is seeing, then I must have something on wrong. All I see is I press play and nothing happens. So.
Well, hopefully it shows up soon, or at least throughout our discussion. So any other comments about the development update? And like I said, Mike, I'll follow up on that for you.
No, I went through it and looked similar to last time, so
okay.
We need a motion.
Okay. Now, Lonnie,
I'd be interested in finding out any information. This is Susie Southern on the electronic billboard, premium land development.
Yes.
What is the progress of that?
It just escaped me. It's by the freeway. I know that doesn't help us, but one of the things that we're requiring, I remember now vaguely that this was something that came up at the last meeting. We are still developing the agreement with the developer. One of the negotiation points we would like to include for the developer to do is to beautify and improve the area. So if they're going to put up a sign, let's at least have them do some landscape improvements. The other key development point with this project is requiring the developer provide free advertising to local businesses for a period of 1 year. And that component would be managed by staff, whether it's through an Explore Yucaipa program or just seeking interest from the business community. And then we would then hand off the business names and contact information to the developer so they can be in direct contact with each other. But we just thought that was a neat little incentive to at least give back to the community if they're going to have the sign.
Okay. Are we going to ever be able to see any kind of plans or have any idea how big this is? And
yeah, we're still working that out. It's been taking longer than usual. I apologize that a lot of things have been lately with what's been going on, but it's literally on my to-do list, and we're shaping the agreement right now. And that once we have plans from the developer, we'll be sure to share that with our group. Maybe at the next meeting, I'll make a note of that to share.
Okay, thank you.
But we are absolutely really excited about the free advertising billboard space to local businesses. We think that our community can really benefit from that. Well, we certainly realize here at the city that it's, billboards are not the most billboards, I guess, are just not as desired. They can be not as attractive. So we're trying to really advocate on.
We approved it. This is Chris Markarian. I'm on the Planning Commission. I believe we approved it not too long ago, a couple meetings ago, if not the last one.
Planning Commission.
You approved a digital billboard for the freeway?
I believe so.
Really?
It doesn't show on here that it's approved.
Well, do you know how big it is? And
No, I don't. Well, I could be wrong, Chris, but when I last spoke with Ben, this was precisely one of the not problems. So we were trying to work out the details of the agreement so that it would pass Planning Commission and ultimately City Council. So, to my knowledge, we haven't yet, but I can double check, and I could be wrong. You're a commissioner, so.
Well, I may be wrong. I remember an extensive discussion and how most of us had a lot of ideas about how it would go, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm working really closely with Ben Matlock on this. In fact, we're the two lead on this project, with him being on the planning side. And he hasn't, like I said, we're working out the details so that it's palatable for our planning commission, for council, and the community, obviously.
Craig, that's Craig Heaps' project. He's trying to call in right now. He just texted me and said, "How can I call in?" He doesn't realize that I'm a technical moron, so I can't help him.
Well,
We didn't even know you were here.
Let's try to get Craig on. Well,
I see Bob. He's on in the YouTube video. Hey, Bob.
Are we live?
hey, how do you get on the YouTube part of it?
Yeah. If I'd have known you could see me, I would have combed my hair.
I can see you.
Now the YouTube's back to Economic Development Advisory Committee with a picture of City Hall.
That digital sign, that project or a project like that has come before the council at least 5 times in my 8 years, or almost 8 years. It's never passed. It's never passed City Council. I hope it does this time. Am I allowed to say that?
Working on it. No, yes, you are. It just gives me more pressure to.
Yeah, I hope it passes. I think that's a good idea.
Well, certainly, like I said, we're excited about the free advertising for local businesses. It's something they have to do. So we're getting that out of it. There's a community benefit. So we're in the process of inviting Craig Heaps, who hopefully, if he jumps in, he can give us an update on that.
Thank you for calling Fairview Property Solutions.
Unknown
We're not
participant
available
is
to
now
take your call
joining.
at the moment. Please leave your name.
So, are we any more questions?
Unknown participant is now exiting.
Lonnie, this is where I'm going to have to ask you, do we approve, I guess, make a motion to approve each item on the agenda?
No, we just, when everybody's done with public comment, we move on to the next. And if somebody wants to go back to that, we could go forward until the developer comes on and tells us what's going on, and then we could go back to it. But we don't approve any of that. We're not doing any. If we're going to send a recommendation to council, then we usually vote on it and send that to council. But on these, we don't.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, in that event, moving right along to item number 5, potential obstacles to development. Just a little update. This was an item of discussion at our last EDAC meeting, specifically just bringing everyone who was not there up to speed, specifically how we all know this, the development impact fees continue to be a deterrent for developers looking to develop in Yucaipa. So along those lines, not so much in terms of fees, but the city is working with the water district on
Craig Heaps
is now joining.
On Oak Glen Road to improve the water infrastructure in that general area. A project that I'm intimately familiar with is going to be before the council at the next meeting, but it's a family housing project on Oak Glen Road and Avenue E, and these water infrastructure improvements will not just assist that, but it will also help to prepare the entire Oak Glen area, that portion of it at least, for development. So in some sense, we see that as being an obstacle that is overcome, at least in terms of water infrastructure in that area. And we are also Ray wanted me to share with this group that the city is also working with a school district in possibly establishing a CFD to help offset some of the developer fees. So that's also in the pipeline.
And what were you saying you wanted from the water district?
We will be working with the water district on improvements along Oak Glen Road in Avenue E, that area.
Is that Yucaipa Valley Water District or Western Heights?
I think that's Western Heights.
Yeah, I believe so. So I'm familiar with the potential development that's going to be there, and Ray had shared with me that was an effort that the city will be working on with Western Heights.
Is that the park?
No, it's the property across from the park that we would like to see as a potential development.
Potential affordable senior housing and affordable housing of some sort that they're looking at right now on the southeast corner of Avenue E at Oak Glen Road. You're talking about the park area across the street, Mr. Duncan, where they're planning on putting a park at some point during all that development.
Is that Indian archive land that we bought for nothing, or?
That's correct.
Yes.
Well, they can't build on that land, I thought. I thought it had Indian stuff, and that's why we had to turn down the development way back.
Well, that's what they've been saying for years, but I don't believe that's the situation.
Yeah, we don't have a firm, agreement or anything like that. Certainly this group and through all your commissions and councils would have known about it, but just that general area, we are preparing for potential development. So the water district in improving that general area and preparing it for development is certainly an obstacle removed in our view, because it is a challenging site. Topography wise, it's hilly, it's inaccessible to a lot of the existing utilities from my understanding. Certainly not an engineer, but just some improvements in that area would help, quote unquote, unlock that site for future development.
Yeah.
So Craig, I believe you joined us on this call. Are you there, Mr. Heaps?
I did. I didn't have a call-in number, but yeah, thank you, Mr. Markarian, for sending it to me.
We wanted to see if you had any updates on your end. Certainly staff is working on the development agreement for the electronic message board sign. But can you give a little update? The location of the sign escapes me. Can you remind me again where that is?
So the electronic billboard will be located at the exit at Yucaipa Boulevard, kind of across from Subway. Most of you probably know there's a little triangle piece of property there that's kind of concave there, needs some dirt in it. That's where the sign is slated to go. It is not approved yet. It is going through the CEQA process right now. So it's out for review right now, and they're just waiting on the development agreement so that as soon as the CEQA process is done, they can take it to Planning Commission. There are you mentioned some things. The developers actually offered, there's some funds available to the city through the sign, through the advertising. There is some availability for community events to be on the billboard on a regular basis, whether it be YPAC or other things, so they can be seen from out at the freeway. There is one community business on a monthly basis to be advertised for free on the billboard as well, and that'll be rotated. And I think you said that's through the Explore Yucaipa program. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what we're thinking of. Certainly that part will be, I guess, managed by staff. And then, like I shared with the group earlier, we envision it as this program is active, the sign is up, we get a call from a business that wants to be on it through Explore Yucaipa, and then we pass that on to the developer for him to feature and then get in contact directly with each other. But yes, Yes, that's
Yeah, so I was, yeah, so it would kind of be, the city would not only be able to, and by the way, the city, in the developer's agreement, will be able to control some of the content and so forth. So the content is always appropriate, as would be for the city of Yucaipa. And they will have a once monthly, all month long advertisement for one of the Yucaipa businesses, and that'll rotate where if they do the month, they can get back in line at a future date. We are talking about maybe even doing something for incubator center tenants to help them grow within the city of Yucaipa. And there are a lot of local people that are, like Corky's and so forth, that already advertise with General Outdoor Advertising, who is my client certainly, and of course the people bringing the billboard into town. They also have a program where if there's an amber alert, because those electronic billboards are so good at identifying and putting pictures up, that if there's an amber alert, the advertising completely shuts down until the amber alert is over, until the person is caught or whatever the situation is. So there's a lot of good stuff for the community. There is, they've been working with the city on, it's actually a city entrance sign as well. In other words, it has our city logo on it. It has our city colors on it. So that when people get to Yucaipa Boulevard and they see this sign, it also shows that it's, that you're in Yucaipa, that you've arrived at the city of Yucaipa. So,
Craig, this is Susie Southern. Is it going to be kept in the same design format that we've been going with, more like the Craftsman style? Is it going to be designed along those lines? Because I mean, that is a pretty big entrance into the city off of Yucaipa Boulevard right there. And we did such a great job over there on Oak Glen Road, Live Oak Canyon, the exit right there. Are we going to have that kind of signage that it's going to look more like our monuments that we have now?
Yes. And I do have, unfortunately, I'm not able to show you right now, but anybody can contact me or contact me through the city. I can send out copies of what the proposed plan is. So you guys take a look at it, because it is already in at the city and it is waiting to go to Planning Commission to be discussed.
I would be interested in seeing what it
Craig,
looks like.
I don't think that, or maybe I overlooked it, but I don't think that's part of the draft development agreement. So I'm sure Ben, our planning staff, has it, but could you send that to the group, and myself included?
Sure, I'll send it to you. You can send it out.
Okay, great.
Because it's been submitted. It's in the pipeline. I just, but I have it, so I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
can I mention one other thing? I did want to let you know that we have a project on 17th Street, 70 units, gated community, that is actually being graded right now. So we're negotiating with a couple of the large builders to come in to do the project, but we are going through the grading process. So if any of you get a chance to go down to 17th Street, down near the freeway, not too far from where the new retail center is going to be, between Avenue D and Avenue E, you can see a lot of progress being made with the earth movers and the scrapers and so forth.
Cool.
Speaking of development too, I'm working on another project on 13th and the Boulevard, and the council approved a purchase and sale agreement with a developer about a month ago that will develop the site into a Dutch Brothers coffee shop. So that's new and exciting. This is the property on the corner of 13th and Yucaipa Boulevard to the east of the fire station on the north side. So just a little update in case you missed that.
A coffee shop across from Starbucks?
Is there a Starbucks there right now?
No. There's no
Police station?
More by like the skateboard park and that area over there.
Oh,
next to Fire Station 2.
I knew that property doesn't have, I know that corner very well.
Okay, I thought you said by the police station, fire station.
Oh, I'm sorry, the fire station, yes.
Yes.
So we're very hopeful for that. We're giving them, it's like a 3-month escrow. And that, of course, is also on a complicated site. There's a fault that runs through there. So right now, the developer is doing their due diligence and getting all these details ironed out. So hopefully, we can develop that into a Dutch Brothers for our community. Okay, anything else on development from the group? So moving right along to next item, item 6, business support during the COVID-19 pandemic. Hopefully, most of you are aware that the city is putting as much information as we can to help support businesses at this time, including updating our city web pages with information on the federal grant programs out there right now. The most popular ones, I'm sure this group is aware of, being the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, and the Economic Injury, the EIDL loan through the SBA. So the goal of this information is just so everyone in our community is aware. So not all of us are business savvy. It's for the entrepreneurs. And I personally, I'm not an expert on these loans, but I'm certainly being brought up to speed on just kind of the basics and being that resource for the community of where to go to get more information. Go to economic development. And so if you're not in front of a computer, this information is easily accessible by going through our homepage and clicking on business and economic development. Additionally, we are in touch with resources such as the Small Business Development Center that do have experts that provide free services in working through these loans and applying for them. So I've been encouraging folks to visit the SBDC website and calling their number. So we're disseminating this information through a bunch of mediums, our website, social media. Another new platform that I'm excited to share and announce, that maybe some of you have received it, is our new business newsletters. And to date, we've released 4 issues with topics ranging from the differences between PPP versus the EIDL, choosing a lender through the SBA's preferred lending program, and then of course the free upcoming webinars hosted by the Small Business Development Center. And then with the recent release of round 2 for the PPP funding, we sent a newsletter out earlier this week as well. So I'm just curious, has anyone in this group received those business support newsletters?
No.
No. I'm getting them. This is Chris Marcayan. I'm getting them through the chamber.
Okay, great. Well, I will ask, since this group is certainly relevant to businesses and development and the economy, local economy, I'll definitely add EDOT committee to the newsletter list. And staff is open to the possibility of this newsletter, this publication being recurring even post-COVID. So I will forward you the previous newsletters that went out, and moving forward, if this group has any topics of interest that they would like to see in upcoming newsletters, cater to the business community, the development community, please feel free to let me know. If you're looking at the YouTube stream, there's our main page there, but we also have a listing of the restaurants that are currently open. Certainly this was more of an uncertainty when COVID picked up at the beginning of this outbreak. People weren't sure what was open, what their hours were. So this comprehensive listing is accessible through our main COVID page, and you can see it through a list format in a table, but we also have an interactive GIS map of the restaurants that are open, including their business hours, if they accept curbside, or if they accept takeout or app-based delivery services. So again, just another tool and medium that we want to get the word out on for our community at this time, certainly the business community. And speaking of COVID-19 and kind of the impacts to businesses and the local economy, I've received a report from our finance department that unfortunately and the Yucaipa economy is anticipating a 15% decrease in sales tax revenues from our 18-19 actuals. So it's pretty significant, I would think. Fortunately, we don't rely as much on retail sales tax as our neighbors do, but we are, like all communities, going to see a decrease in sales tax revenues. Any comments on that? Anyone want to chime in? Thoughts?
It sucks.
It does. Yes. Let's not end on this grim note.
Well, I guess the positive note is, do we have any timeline that we know of that we as the city is going to take the lead, or are we just going to follow what the county and the state's going to keep doing?
We are following county's orders. However, our city manager, I know, is a part of a, I guess it's kind of like a technical advisory group to the county or something equivalent like that, where he has been tasked, him and a few other city managers have been tasked with coming up with a development plan for our county. So we are actually kind of taking the lead on what we would like a reopening plan to look like, and what makes, and certainly once we do get those county specific guidelines, we as staff will implement according to what makes most sense for Yucaipa. So we always have our community in mind, and what works for another city may not work for us. So that's always been our approach. But we are definitely being proactive in what does a reopening plan look like for the city of Yucaipa. In fact, I helped Ray on that plan and submitted it last week. So I'm thinking we'll get guidelines soon.
Well, this is Tom, real quick. To me, because part of this whole thing with the curb sort of just does not make sense. I mean, in our shopping center here by Vaughn's, here you could walk into Staples, stay 6 feet apart, go to Vaughn's, stay 6 feet apart, and do everything else, and yet you can't go to Ross, you can't go to some of the other places, and how you would ever get curbside service from that is ridiculous.
Right. That's why we see the governor's plans, and while they're guidelines, we ultimately will develop something on what makes sense for our community and what makes sense to us. So my understanding is the governor's guidelines are just very broad, big picture things, and the counties and cities will really implement their local orders.
Do we have any time frame for just opening restaurants to have indoor seating again? I mean, I know Orange County is doing it. Do we have anything looming in the future, do you see?
I do see that. As far as a timeline, I'm not quite sure on what that looks like, but certainly I'm sure Ray would have a better idea than me. So hopefully by our next meeting, we're already in that stage.
I hope we're in that stage by our next meeting. We better
So,
be.
so I talked to Don Rao a couple of days ago, and I was kind of reading her the Riot Act, and she responded by saying, "You're preaching to the choir." Apparently, there's 2 votes on the supervisors that want to move a little more aggressively toward opening up some of these other businesses, and there are 3 votes on there that do not. And nobody's going to defy the governor of the state of California. He doesn't have restaurants slated to open until phase 3. We're just now moving into phase 2.
Yeah.
Well, not only restaurants, but beauty shops, nail shops. I mean, we can make them 6 feet apart, and they only have 1 customer at a time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's actually what you just mentioned is something that we threw out to the county through this working group that Ray is in. Is that's an example of, okay, taking the governor's guidelines, what is more specific and makes sense. Okay, let's have controlled limit occupancy and have folks be 6 feet apart and wear masks. But I understand to your point about folks being allowed in Vaughn's and Staples, yet the store right next to them is closed. So we're working on it very aggressively to hopefully get our economy back safely moving.
Well, you know, Carolyn, the other thing too is and I think it's ridiculous as far as we get a lot of people are coming up on Memorial Day weekend and through the summer. And as far as full hookups, I could see the campgrounds, I could see shutting down bathrooms and restrooms and that kind of thing. But the campground with the full hookups are more than 6 feet apart. I'm substantially more than 6 feet apart. If they're self-contained units, just the revenue to the county, to the park system, and the people coming into our community is unbelievable loss of revenue and tax benefit for shopping, restaurants, shopping centers, and everything else.
Right. Right. That's a good point. Well, I don't think that's something we addressed in our plan. Specifically campgrounds. So certainly it's going to be hard to be inclusive, but that we have a fair amount of that here.
I heard we were talking about canceling the 4th of July fireworks. I think that's absurd.
That I do not know.
That's what I heard today, that we're contemplating not having the 4th of July fireworks at the high school. And how ironic, freedom, fireworks, no freedom, can't go. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I do think that we need to maybe, do you have any kind of task force that we can submit our maybe ideas to, that we could put this on the agenda and have a list of ideas that we think would help in opening the city up? Is there somewhere that could be submitted to?
Absolutely. I think that's actually a great idea. And I can speak to Ray about it, but certainly I don't see why this group can't be charged with that and have an item on every agenda of just shooting ideas on because this is,
of course, if it's not open by July 9th, we're screwed anyway. So everything should be open by then anyway. I think everything should be.
Yeah, or even just kind of discussing the effects and just ideas in general. We as staff are curious to hear that from the business community.
Well, Caroline, I have a question on if there were businesses to open before the mandated required dates and the deadlines. Do we know what kind of approach we're going to have as far as the city? Is it going to be an ordinance thing? Is it going to be a law enforcement thing to shut them down?
So currently, we do not and have not cited businesses that are operating now or despite any order that's been there. So that's been our position, and that's been what's shared over folks that call over the phone and say so-and-so is operating. We at the city do not enforce that we do not issue citations, we don't knock on their doors, or we don't report anyone or anything. We just leave it up to the individual if they would like to operate or not, certainly given the orders that exist. If folks do, for us here at the city, the quote-unquote enforcing agency would be the county. But again, we do not refer folks to the county. We don't call the county ourselves. It's all been just, we don't cite, we're leaving it up to the individual.
Our police, you have not asked the police department to do that? The police department is not doing anything?
As far as I know, certainly not code enforcement.
So I had a conversation. I've been the one on the council that's been most vocal about this nonsense. I talked to Sheriff John McMahon twice since this started. First about churches not being able to get together, and then secondly about businesses. And he told me on the phone both times that his deputies are not going to arrest anybody or cite anybody for having a business open. But if he gets complaints, he's going to have to respond to it and find out, what's going on. But yesterday, the Alcohol Tobacco Department of the state of California sent out a SWAT team to Yucaipa. About 2:30, they surrounded the building with about 9 different officers, and they had SWAT gear on. He didn't answer the door, but I think they got a complaint that he was serving beer, and that's the one organization that I haven't contacted, but I know Ray Casey tried to contact them today on behalf of Scott, and I know they had a conversation. But the county, what's her name, Trudy Raimundo, the director of public health, she resigned on Monday. I would like to think I had a little bit to do with that. I sent her a scathing letter as a citizen and not as a council member. But these guys are trying to open up, but they're getting resistance from different agencies at different times. That's what I know about it right now.
Well, I don't know if any of the restaurants have contacted the city, but it seems like if you owned a restaurant, you were only allowed to have 25% capacity. You might as well stay closed because you're going broke.
Yeah, but you know how that.
Carolyn,
Sorry,
Carolyn, this is Tom again. I agree with you as far as having a group to kind of talk about this. there's a lot of simple things. I played out here at Yucaipa with the men's club, the golf course, and it's ridiculous by the county's own rules and so forth. They state you could walk around the neighborhood, you could ride your bicycle, you could do all these other things with no mask. If you see somebody, you put your mask on, or when you get too close. And yet, on the golf course, when there's nobody, I can see checking in, but once you get onto the golf course, you have your single cart, you're staying more than 6 feet away from a player, and you're not on the greens putting out. And yet, I was told I had a first warning, either put my mask back on or they're going to throw me off the golf course.
Was that by staff?
Really?
That was by staff
The golf
at
course staff?
Yucaipa. Yep.
Okay. Well, like I said, I think I do echo those of you who brought up the idea of this group, at least for now, and even let's say mandates are lifted come July 9, which ideally they should be, or we want them to be. But I think this group can be a great sounding board for just what's going on, at least on the staff level. I'm not a business owner outside of my capacity here at the city. I would like to hear, and it's through this group, of what is being experienced out there. Certainly, I've got to talk to a lot of our business owners the past few weeks who have been calling about the SBA loans, what the city is doing, and just kind of questions in general. So I've gotten to know the business community, but I think it's a great idea that this group be charged with just being that sounding board, and as it relates to this pandemic that we're in.
Well, can you send any of these comments we've just made over to the council? I mean, the ones we have just said, the golf courses, the campgrounds, those kind of things that we would like to, the curbside delivery, that why can't we walk in and pick it up? I mean, some of those things.
Yes.
Can you send any of that information to them at this time?
I can certainly do. I'll certainly send this to Ray, and then he can send it to council. I think so, but definitely I can send it to Ray.
And Carolyn, if you want to, for Ray, from the standpoint, I wouldn't mind at all regarding Ross, the RV camping, or the golf or something like that. Put my name next to him. If he wants to talk to me personally, I'll go ahead and give him any information he might need.
This is Tom, right?
That's correct.
Tom Potter.
Yes.
Okay.
Caroline, this is Mike Marion again, and I wanted to add one thing to that on top of the economic recovery of that. We also have a situation that I think we need to be aware of, the uptick in crime with this pro bail and the release that's occurred. I know I've got complaints in my ring. It's going off the hook with people just walking in everywhere at night, taking stuff out of everybody's trucks and everything in their front yard. So I think we're seeing an uptick in crime. I'm only guessing. I don't know, but that might be something Mr. Duncan's aware of more than I am. But it's another angle that we need to talk about.
Absolutely. Kind of the effects of this, lots of people out of work. Absolutely. Maybe it's something that Ray can update to the community at a future council meeting, just how we're doing and where we're at.
Awesome.
Well, I think we're all in agreement, and I don't know if you need a vote, that we would like to see some more aggressive work towards opening up our city, and that we don't want to just leave it to the governor, and that we are willing to go against some of the governor's orders to go ahead and move forward. I don't think we're LA County. I don't think we should be treated like LA County or San Francisco or any of those. I think we're our own small community, and we should be running our community, not the governor of California. That's my opinion.
Absolutely.
So I agree.
Kiddo.
You'll second. So
it is.
We could forward that issue to them.
Yes.
Sure.
Absolutely. It's on the record, and I am taking notes.
Okay.
Okay. And the last item is really, it's more just informational. This was mentioned at the last meeting of what the impact is for housing development in the community. And a few years ago, the National Association of Home Builders did a study. Of course, this is pertaining nationwide, and I want to preface by saying the numbers in this report probably don't apply to Yucaipa specifically, but we can take away the trend that new housing development it helps the local economy in that there's construction activity happening in town. The folks working construction or involved with the development spend money and is recycled in the local economy. And then kind of the ongoing impacts from folks living in the new housing. They're paying property taxes, they are spending in the community, ideally they're also working. So it really just kind of paints a picture of whether or not you're for or against housing, there is an economic benefit to it. So I can share this report for those of you who are interested. The figures are in the millions, and like I said, it's hard to see what exactly that dollar figure would look like for Yucaipa. But for example, it's a 100 apartment complex would generate. They have here almost 8 million in local income, 830,000 in taxes and other revenue for local government. And then it estimates the creation of 122 local jobs, or at least jobs being filled. So there are economic benefits to not only the construction of housing itself, but obviously the ripple effects from having folks living in that housing for the local economy. So I just wanted to share that. That was something that came up at the last meeting. Maybe moving forward, in addition to the action items that we just laid out this evening, if there's a topic of quote unquote, like an educational topic item that I can present to the group, then that certainly can be done moving forward. This was one of those that was brought up at the last meeting, so I just wanted to share that.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Caroline, what is your extension at the city?
227.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're almost at conclusion. Let's do I'm like, how are we going to do a roundtable? I guess we can go ahead and jump. It's not really a roundtable. Let's jump in with any last comments. If there's more than one person speaking at a time, we can just kind of take turns and go from there. Any last words?
Well, this is Tom. Carolyn, thank you very much for putting the meeting together. You did a fine job. The other thing is two things. I think that's great as far as the development impact fees with working with the water district on the houses over by Oakland Road. It's going to be significantly beneficial in the long run. And then the other one too, as far as creating that CFD with the schools to offset some of the fees, I think is going to be terrific too in the future.
And Ray would have more information on the CFD with partnership or possible even. He would definitely have more information, but he wanted me to share that was something he was working on. But yes, I will pass that along.
This is Craig, and I'd like to jump in and take the opposite side of that because I think the CFD is a horrible idea for the school district. And the reason I say that is if you do a CFD and you continue to tax the land, then the developers aren't going to be able to use the SKIP program for the city fees, which was recently approved for their use, because you can't overtax the land. You can't get above 1.7, 1.8%. So a CFD is going to certainly do that. It's going to create money for the school district, but you're going to put yourself right back in the position where the builders are not going to be able to build. I know because I negotiate with them on a daily basis, and they can't get over the school fees. They can't get through that. And adding $2,000 a year per house CFD or something to those houses isn't going to help. The only thing that can help is to have the school district reduce their fees for a period of time to work with the city to promote builders growth. You have thousands of approved homes in Yucaipa, and none of them can get built, and it's mainly because of that. So
Craig, just so I understand, just very basically, it sounds like if there's a CFD, does the SKIP program have a threshold that would not apply if that threshold is exceeded?
So the problem is that the SKIP program, they don't like you to see you above 1.7 or 1.8% for your taxes on your property.
Oh, okay.
And currently, there is not only 1.25%, but there's a $451 per house per year for 30-year tax from the school district besides the $737 a foot that they charge. That is something that was voted on, I believe, back in like 86 or something for new development. And so you already have that on there. And when they do the skip financing, I have a developer who's developing next to the fire station on 5th Street. He can't even do the skip program for all of the city fees because it puts them at about just above 1.75% because of that. And in the meantime, you've got $7.37 a foot to build for a house, to build it for school fees, where other cities, Redlands, Beaumont, Banning, everywhere else, it's $3 and change, $3.30, $3.40 or whatever. So I have met with Eric Vreeman and Callie, and we have talked about them taking the state portion of the fees and setting them in abeyance for a few years to allow builders to come in and build under a better economy, basically, and build up our school districts, which are already down 300 to 350 students. You know, I don't know if you've noticed, but most of our kids are getting older. The high school's crowded and everybody's graduating. And as you get to the younger ages, we're getting more and more vacancies in the schools. So I think there's a better way to do it. I think that I see where the CFD looks good on paper because it gives you the ability to really upgrade the schools. But I think the schools need students, and the only way to make all that happen is to build homes. And if we do a CFD, we will have zero growth in homes unless it's something that the city does, like they're doing on E and Oak Glen, or like they're doing up on 2nd Street and Oak Glen, where the city's putting together projects and is able to move things around a little bit. But for the basic builders or the basic landowners, the CFD is just going to kill the projects.
And certainly, if in terms of city-owned land, we do and will continue to facilitate that financial aspect through fee deferrals and whatever we can do in our capacity.
Well, that's a problem though, because that puts the city in direct competition with the landowners and builders.
That's really unfair.
That really is unfair. And, you know, so I mean, if you're going to do something on city-owned land, you got to do something for the other people so that they can build their properties too. There's people that have been holding on to their properties or holding on to entitlements for 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. And they don't have any way to get any break in the system unless everybody works together. And I mean, everybody from the city and the water district and the school, everybody has to, you know, put their heads together and come up with a program. If we're going to build 3,000 homes like we're supposed to do, so we don't get fined, then we have to find a way to make that happen.
Yeah.
Then Craig, this is Tom again. Because from the last time, you're right. At Yucaipa, Calamasa, it was $7.27. The level 1 fee was $3.79, and the CFD was $3.48. So, right. But then what we're doing, and you're right, every student that we're losing $10,000 a student, give or take, going to the schools. So it's I agree with you. Without the homes and bringing people in, we're not going to have the families to go ahead and go to the school. So all you're going to do is continue to see a rise in fees and stuff like that, which is going to kill the development.
Correct. So in my last meeting that I had with Callie and then subsequently with Eric Vreeman, I discussed on the $3.79, we discussed them waiving those fees. Now it'll cost them some benefits that they would get from the state by waiving those state fees, but they certainly can do that. And if they would do it for a 3-year period or so, it would encourage people. It would help to encourage the builders to come into town and do work. And yeah, I mean, we're talking about single family residences. We're talking about 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom, 2 stories, 1 stories, whatever. But you're talking about getting a couple kids, 2.5 kids per household. We can build. I told them over if we build the next 350 homes is going to bring an enormous amount of money into the school district just in new students at $10,000 a piece. And let's not forget that if we're not building homes, you're never getting that $379 in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're never getting that level 1 fee. So we have to find a way to give the builders a break so that they come to Yucaipa instead of going to Redlands or somewhere else. And, we can't lower the price of the lumber, and the land is already at a much lower price than it's been at any time over the last 10 years. The only way to get there is to figure out a way with some of the fees and to make it happen. But those school fees are a big one. When a builder says, I want to build a 2,500 square foot home, and in Yucaipa, that's going to cost me $17,000 just in school fees. But but I can go do the same thing in Redlands and build the same home for $7,500 in school fees. That's $10,000 is coming out of his pocket just because of school.
Well, it could be a better time right now with interest rates as low as they are to get the land graded and start building the homes.
Well, I'm grading 70 lots on 17th Street right now, and the reason I'm doing that is not because I'm ready to build the homes, because I'm anticipating that we're going to find a way to fix the problem, and I'm already going to have a leg up on on everybody else by having the land graded and flipping it over to one of those builders. But I don't have the advantages that the city would have in being able to negotiate with my fees or my land or anything else. It's all it's not a level playing field. So we got to figure out how it makes it work for everybody.
I think the city can definitely explore at least ideas for a mechanism where we could possibly, and I don't know, but be in a position to offer the same incentives that we do for city-owned property. So I'll chew on that a little bit and get back to the group, talk to the appropriate departments, finance, and certainly Ray, and then we'll continue to define that. But I see what you're saying, how we certainly are in a position to do that, offer deferrals for city property, but why not private property? So I'll explore that a little bit and take.
Well, that's why I wanted your extension too, so I could call you and discuss some of these things so that we could, see if there's a way to work together to make these things happen, because you have to build homes, and obviously I want to see that happen. So.
Right. Anyone else have any comments for roundtable?
Touching on that real quick, not only does that bring the $10,000 approximately per kid in there, but it also keeps the employment in the schools at all different levels of that, from administration to teaching, which they move into town, they build their tax base out of this town and spend money here. So that's a good idea. If you guys can work on that, that's just wanted to bring the employment aspect into that also, not just the kids, but employment. Done.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And we're not talking about a one-time $10,000 fee. A kid comes here in town and gets here in the first grade, you're getting $100,000 off them over the course of the next 10 years.
Yep.
That goes into the school. So.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
Well, if no one has any more comments, I will formally. Just as a recap, next meeting, hopefully we're all back in business by then. Hopefully other folks are in attendance at this meeting and we can appoint a chair and vice chair. And the next meeting will then be set for July the 9th.
Are you
good?
I call this
Stay safe.
For adjournment. Thank you all. Stay safe and have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks again, Chris.
Thank you.
Bobby.